Hi, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for this webinar on experiential safaris with Imvelo Safari Lodges in Zimbabwe. I'm Tad Bradley, one of the North American sales reps for Imvelo, and today we are joined by Haley Plaskett, the sales and marketing director for Imvelo, all the way from Bulawayo. She's a Bulawayo native and is going to give you and be your host for a virtual tour today around the Imvelo portfolio in Victoria Falls and Wangi, and really detail on some of the very unique and special and unique experiential activities that Imvelo has pioneered in Zimbabwe. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over for Haley to be your tour guide through Imvelo's Victoria Falls and Wangi products and experiential safari activities. Haley, all yours.
Fantastic. So we are all going. Thank you for your patience, everyone. So as Tad was saying, and as I just mentioned, it's just fantastic to be here and be able to connect with so many people through this webinar today and just talk to you a little bit about really what makes Imvelo different. And for us, it's all about the experience and the experiential safaris that we can offer through to your guests. For us, it's about how do we get guests out of a vehicle and just doing things differently and turning safaris on its head, all at a very good value for money price point and no compromise when it comes to the experience that your guests get to have in Zimbabwe. So we've really crafted out and niched out the space of different experiences. So when your guests are with us, they're going to be on a mountain bike or on a train or in an underground blind or on a canoe, on a horse, and you'll see that as we go through it. It's just about how do we provide that much more of an experience for your guests while giving back to our communities. So two of our properties are built on community land and are the two biggest community-based tourism projects in Zimbabwe, and your guests would be able to visit that and really have very immersive community-based experiences while with us, as we'll see as we go through. Let's go on to Victoria Falls. So kicking off right in the top in this northwestern part of the country. So GORGES Lodge is 30 minutes outside Victoria Falls and was our first and our largest community-based tourism project. So if we have a look at the next slide, we'll be able to see this incredible location that it is situated in. For us, this really is a fantastic starter product, as your guests have got off long international flights just to be welcomed into this beautiful environment, spectacular location. 25 minutes outside of Victoria Falls is just the perfect way to start off their Zimbabwe experience. This is really the picture that you want to be selling through to your guests. So our lodge is situated right on the edge of that beautiful Batoka Gorge, 200 meters down to the Zambezi River. That's where all the whitewater rafting happens down at the bottom there. You can see that's taken in the green season, just really spectacular. Some say the best views in Southern Africa. And we've added 5 beautiful luxury tents, a feat of engineering, how they've been built with the decks literally overhanging the gorge. And we call this little GORGES, and it's beautifully appointed, as you'll be able to see in the next slide as we go through. So this is a great one, you know, honeymooners, as I've said, just a good place to start your experience in Zim. And it's all about being able to get away from that freneticness of being in Victoria Falls town itself. We have an exclusive zone where no helicopters can fly over this part of the gorge as well, which makes it really fantastic from that point of view. So we can go on to the next slide now and see a little bit more. As I said, this is green season, which is my favorite time to visit. It's just a beautiful, beautiful time of year in the gorge. If you go on to the next slide. So one of the other big experiences that we have out at this part of the gorge is we have incredible black eagles that nest right at the lodge. And our lodge managers are like bird whisperers. So they get to call the birds down in the evenings, and they actually come down and they fly really, really close by to the guests. They can get this type of photography, you know, with not even a fancy camera. And our lodge manager is also a pro guide, and they do a fantastic talk on the birds while you're having sundowners and snacks. So it's a great way to finish the evening, and another great experience that is offered. So if you've got any big twitchers or birders, this is a good one. Another new experience that we've just launched is our mobile destination spas. So this is a community-based project. So we've hired ladies from the community, trained them up, and they just deliver these great pampering experiences right on the edge of these beautiful locations. Nothing is more than $25. So, you know, it isn't like probably your full American spa experience, but it's a bit of pampering at the end of the day while you know you're actually giving back, because this is all profit sharing with the community in these gorgeous locations. So one to definitely, I think, include up front for your guests. Nice one also as a surprise for honeymooners. And there's just so many great experiences at Gorges Lodge itself. Personally, I think in terms of routing, it's great to have 3 nights to start at Gorges Lodge, because then you get to have a full day in Victoria Falls town and then a full day at the lodge itself, because there's so much just to enjoy at the lodge too. So included experiences at Gorges are not only just your pickup from town or from airport on arrival, plus you get a daily shuttle into Victoria Falls town, and this is tailored around when your guests would like to go and what they would like to do. But you also get a guided tour of Victoria Falls with the national parks fees included, plus a sundowner cruise on the Zambezi River, which we partner with the Wild Horizons, and a guided tour of the craft village. So great to just spend a full day in Vic Falls town enjoying all of that. And then when you come back out to the lodge itself, you can have the opportunity to go and visit the village and the school that we look after. It's about 10 kilometers away from Gorges Lodge. That's a really lovely immersive day. And then in the evening, we have the communities come up and they sing and they dance, and it's very unchoreographed, and it's just a great way to finish a day. Plus, as I mentioned, there's the beautiful black eagles. And now we know, guests are really looking for a more active safari. So a new activity that we also offer is you can do a hike down to the bottom of the gorge and have a lovely picnic lunch there, have a swim in the rock pools, and then make your way back up. So for the more active and out there, this is a great one to do. And then our new pop-up destination spas. And this racks for $380 per person per night, all inclusive. And for 6 months of the year, there's the stay 3, pay 2 overlay. So it really does make a good value for money. So Gorges, I think that the key selling points is the location, great starter product, everything that's included in the price, and just this opportunity to be in these beautiful tents 25 minutes outside of Victoria Falls. And then our second product, which is up in the Victoria Falls region, is Zambezi Sands. So Zambezi Sands is set in the Zambezi National Park, and it's 1 hour from Victoria Falls. Like now I just mentioned Gorges as a great starter product. I like to look at Zambezi Sands as a great finisher product. So once your guests have gone down into Wangi National Park, had a fantastic long days of safari, they come up here right on the river, a couple of days of decompression before flying home. But of course, there's some great experiences to enjoy while being right on the river itself. So to get there, included in the price is a pickup from Vic Falls town or from the airport. And you would jump in a closed aircon vehicle 16 kilometers down on the Kazangula Road. And then we have a hub that we then get guests to jump in a game viewing vehicle, and then it's 18 kilometers through the park right onto the river frontage. And that part in itself is an activity. So our lodge is set on the Zambezi River. Every tent has beautiful views of that river frontage, as you'll see in the next slide. And that's the main lodge area. And this is the beautiful Zambezi Sands. So there's only 10 luxury tents, so it's also a very intimate, exclusive camp. A lot of privacy, and 2 of the tents have interleading walkways, so also a good one for families. So we don't take kids 7 or under at any of our properties, so that's just another one to remember. But this is all about the water-based experience here. So moving on to this, you can get a feel for our huge, beautiful tents. You actually don't even want to leave the tent sometimes for 3 days. So I definitely recommend 3 nights here. Everyone has its own plunge pool, outdoor shower, indoor bathroom, indoor lounge area, and then your big bedroom area. So they are massive tents on stilts right on the river. In the green season, the water comes way up high. And you can probably see, I think, in the next slide, just it really feels like you're on a houseboat here. That's how I always feel when I just wake up to this incredible water in front of us. And Zambezi Sands has this incredible sweet spot in terms of its location, because we've got the Zambezi Rapids right in front of the camp. And it just provides that white noise, because on the other side of the bank is Zambia. And Zambia is very settled, a lot of villages, a lot of parties, a lot of noise. And, you know, where we are having the Zambezi Rapids in front of us, it really just wipes all of that out. So you just have this quiet, peaceful, it's just the sound of the river, very pristine area. The Zambezi National Park's really coming back into play in terms of wildlife as well. We've seen a triple in the last couple of years since, you know, a couple of camps have opened along that river frontage, really providing a presence there, working with the anti-poaching units. And so it's been a pleasure to actually see the game really start to pick up in that side of the park. But for us, it's about, as we said, get out of a vehicle and do things differently. And canoeing is an all-time favorite. We've had guests from 7 years old to 83-year-olds on the canoes. So there's something for everyone, different tributaries to go down, depending on, you know, what type of experience your guests are looking for. It's very tailored, and it's definitely a fun activity to enjoy while with us. I like to actually refer to it as Mana Light, because it's not the long days on the river like Mana. You know, it can be an hour canoe, it can be 4-hour canoe, but it's definitely one that your guests would love while they're with us, and it's all included in the price. And outdoor dining is a must here. There is just the most beautiful spots. We've had a lot of engagements in this camp, and it's something that your guests will all get with us as a surprise bush breakfast or bush dinner. So that experiential dining is something that's very much part of what Imvelo delivers through to our guests. And then, of course, enjoying those beautiful mobile destination spas at the end of the day. You know, after a couple of hours canoeing, this is a great one just to finish off your day. So included experiences at Zam Sands. So this product racks for $595 all inclusive, and we're not taking a price increase in 2019. So very good value for money. It has the stay pay overlay for 6 months of the year too. And there's a lot included in the price. So not only is your pickups included at the beginning, but you do get one return shuttle to Victoria Falls town per stay. So if your guests do decide, you know what, they forgot about one activity they really wanted to do at the beginning of their trip, then there's always that opportunity again for them to get back into town and enjoy that. Or if you're using Zam Sands as a finisher product after perhaps coming through from Botswana or from Cape Town, then they've still got that opportunity to go into town and actually visit Victoria Falls. And then it's just all about the water. So we do the canoeing, we've got recreational fishing, and we have our own boats as well. So we do our own sundowner drifts at the camp, a lot more exclusive and intimate than the Victoria Falls town sundowner cruises. And then the outdoor dining is just fabulous. Beautiful walking territory as well, right on the edge of the river. So a lot to do, and I would encourage your guests to really spend some time decompressing and enjoying the actual camp and the surrounds. There's over 350 birding species in the Zambezi National Park as well. So again, if you've got any big birders, this is a great one. And it's an awesome camp to visit in the green season as well, because your river's high, it's flowing, it's you know, the park is beautiful and lush and green. And this is a good finisher product. So looking at $595 per person per night for that one. And then now going down into Wangi National Park. So this is a huge park, 14,500 square kilometers, I think 5,500 square miles. It's the size of Connecticut. So there's a lot to see and do. And I really do encourage guests to not just dip their toe and stay a couple of nights in one part of the park, because the northern part of the park to the southern part of the park is very different in terms of topography, wildlife concentration, and activities offered. So no 2 days are the same when you are with Imvelo. So the southern part of your park is more like your Kalahari sandfields. It's beautiful Ngamo plains. Northern part of the park is these Mapani woodlands. It's a lot more hilly, koppies. And you find in the southern part of the park, you've got way higher concentrations of cheetah, sable, wild dog. And then in the northern part, you can see huge herds of buffalo, 800, 1,000 strong. There's opportunities to see rowan, leopard. So if you start to combine the north with the south, you can see how your guests really have that opportunity to tick off seeing so much more. And I think that's, you know, just another part of the experience. But there's a couple of ways that you can reach our camps, and you can see them here. Our beautiful, unique Elephant Express, I'm going to talk about in a minute, but one of the ones I do just want to highlight is the accessibility that we now have with air transfers. So charters have really started to open up in Wangi National Park, and we've got some excellent rates. So what you're seeing in front of you now is rack rates, and these have come down substantially. So I think it's something to look to really include in your guest itinerary because of the size of the park and how long it takes to transfer from one side to the other. So now from Big Falls down to BOMANI CAMELTHORN, you can reach there for a rack of 250 seat rate. Joseph Benini, same at 250, and Nahemba at 150. And now you can intra Wangi camp flights also for 150 seat rate. So a nice one to include, I think, to see Wangi from the air as well. So this is new, hot off the press rack rates. So I think one to definitely look to include going forward. And it's another great experience. And then there's our Elephant Express. So this is our beloved Eli Express that was built by us in Bulawayo, and it seats 22 passengers. It's got a flush loo on board. It's got a bar. It's got guides. We serve meals, and it's just a much more comfortable and fun, unique way to transfer down to our southern Wangi camps. So what would happen is you get picked up in Det railway station at 2 p.m. and then it takes about 2 to 2.5 hours to get down to Ngamo siding in the southern part of the park. And along that route, you've got some really great opportunities for good game viewing. As you can see, everybody enjoys the experience. Everyone wants to drive the train, and it's always a memorable highlight of guests that stay with us, and it's unique and experiential. You won't find it anywhere else in the park. And if you go on, you can see there's great opportunities to see good game. And the reason for that is that a lot of the game is attracted to the heat of the railway line. So it tends to draw the game in. Not only that, they use it as a vantage point for hunting. So it's often a great activity as well as a transfer along the way. I like to say, definitely warn your guests that it doesn't run with any kind of Swiss time precision, just because you never know what you're going to see along the way. And that's a great way to kind of start off a safari in Wangi. So you can see this is Wangi National Park now, this map, and there's this straight line right at the top here, and that's your railway line. So this is where your guests would go from Det down to Ngamo siding. So we have one slot on the railway a day. So as I mentioned, it leaves Det at 2 p.m., gets down to Ngamo siding at 4:30. And then on the reverse side, it leaves at 11 a.m. and it reaches Det at 1:30. So if you can try and include that, if it works with flights and that, it's a really fun experiential one to do. So once you're down in the southern part of the park, I'll start with BOMANI Tented Lodge. BOMANI is set on its own private concession, and that really gives us a lot of flexibility. You know, you can do off-road, you can do night drives, we've got our own water holes, and there's no fences in Wangi. So this is a very wild camp, and it's got a very much an old school safari charm about it. The location is the key selling point. So it is set on these beautiful Ngamo plains where visibility, if you go on to the next slide, you'll be able to see why I say that. You know, on these Ngamo plains all year round, you're going to have great game viewing here and visibility. You can see the waterhole right up here by the camp, and we've got another waterhole just down to the right-hand side of the screen. So the big selling points for this is location and your unique experiences to get down here. We've also just put on a beautiful family suite, which we wanted to bring to your guys' attention today. Very large. It's got 2 big bedrooms, 2 bathrooms with 2 outdoor showers, and a lovely big lounge dining room area. So you can get a sense of what it looks like here by the different visuals on the screen now. It sleeps up to 6 people, and with 6 people, you get your own private vehicle, your own private butler, your own private guide, and it's just a great one for multi-generational travel, which is definitely a growing trend. As I mentioned, very wild camp. So, you know, you're going to have these beautiful cheetah, wild dog, ellies, lion, buffalo coming through camp. So it's it only racks for $4.40 per person per night, all inclusive. So 100% I'd say is the best value for money safari camp in Wangi National Park. We've also just put in a little plunge pool overlooking the waterhole. So I just wanted to also make sure everyone knew that, because BOMANI's been undergoing, you know, really nice refurb over the last course of the year, and it's a great spot to now come down and experience a great safari down in the southern part of Wangi. Moving on to CAMELTHORN. CAMELTHORN is about 20 minutes away from BOMANI, but is very different in style and its whole purpose. So it's built on community land, and it's a real partnership with our community. You can see it's built under this beautiful CAMELTHORN tree, hence the name. And it's offers something very different, as you'll see in the coming pictures. So it was built by 72 guys from our community, and 56 of them had never worked a day in their life. So it was the first time there was ever any money going back into this community. All of them work for us now in some capacity too. And one of the big things was that they really wanted to make sure this was a long-term partnership. And this is why we have ended up with these beautiful forest villas. It needed to be permanent because the community said, you know, tents you can pack up and you can move. So we wanted to, you know, really show our support in terms of long-term partnerships. So we have these beautiful villas, and right now we're just installing hot tubs right in that top level, maisonette level. So I think that's going to be a great addition. So 2 have already gone in, and the rest are going to be rolled out by the high season next year. And we also offer sleep outs at the top maisonette level there. So another great experience to do while staying at CAMELTHORN. The reason we built CAMELTHORN like we did is because we wanted to also try and combat the weather elements. So anyone that stayed in a tent in summer knows it gets very, very hot, and in winter it gets very, very cold. So building it like this, it has high ceilings, which makes it about 10 degrees cooler in the summer, and each one has its own fireplace. So after your guests come in from their activities, roar up these beautiful fireplaces, and it just keeps them lovely and warm. So it's a very luxurious camp. It's one of our premium tier camps, really nicely appointed. And our new experience that we've just launched down for BOMANI and for CAMELTHORN guests is horse riding. So we've partnered with Wangi Horse Safaris. They've been in the industry 30, 40 years. And we're offering a variety of rides from beginners all the way through to your advanced riders. So I'd highly recommend, if your guests are interested, to let's try and build it into the itineraries up front, know what they would like to do. We've got a questionnaire that we send out so that we can assess abilities, and then we can build that into their itineraries with us. So we offer rides for beginners, which you can literally be led around, or right through to the advanced, where you'll go onto the BOMANI concession with big game, but you always have a pro guide and your safety trackers in the back. But my favorite ride is our community ride. So you would ride to the community, have a village visit, have some brunch, and then ride back. And that's also a profit sharing project that we've now undertaken, which is a great one. So this is just a lovely new way to get out of a safari vehicle and see some great game. And now also, not to forget, once you've got off your horse, there's also a great underground blind to come and enjoy in a few hours. So this is a 20-foot shipping container that we've sunk at Stoffy's Pan. So again, for BOMANI and CAMELTHORN visitors. It has a flush loo, and it's got a little bar area. And we've taken some learnings from guests around the world that have said, you know, they love the idea of blinds, but they actually get quite claustrophobic in them. And after 2 gin and tonics, they're like, and now what do? You know, there's elephants everywhere. So hence the flush loo, and it's very spacious inside. So it's a great way just to spend a couple of hours and get these close-up photography moments. I like to say that you can get toenail photography from inside here. So a nice way to spend a couple of hours and just a different way to experience wildlife. And our community activities down in the southern part of the park is really very much part of what we offer and what we do. So we look after 11 schools in the southern part of the park. And one of my favorite activities that you can do is you can actually take a 3-kilometer walk to school in the morning with the school kids. And I think for families, that's a great one, because a lot of families want their kids to see what it takes to actually, you know, other kids have to go through to get an education. It's a nice way to be active, to be out there, and just to be really immersing yourself in a different culture. So that's one of my favorite activities. Along with actually how much there is to do when you reach the schools. It's very interactive. We encourage guests to teach a class, or if they want to do more than that, we can also build that into the itineraries pre them coming. If they want to paint a classroom block, if they want to get involved in our school feeding programs. We actually have on our website, there's an excellent document, which is how you can help. So if your guests are looking to see how they can help prior to actually coming to visit us, there's a lot of literature that's available, or of course you can contact one of us and we can tailor something specifically for your guests. But if guests are interested in community and conservation work, we can definitely build in a full day or two in terms of them, you know, really immersing themselves with our schools that we look after in that area. As I've mentioned, we don't take kids under 7, but 7 and over, we have fantastic Kids on Safari programs. And we really want to make sure that kids walk away from a safari with us being educated and just falling in love with nature. And so we have Kids on Safari booklets that are handed out, and they work through them with their guides. And we can actually also tailor and do fantastic 10, 12-night programs for families that have good day-by-day itineraries. So if anyone's interested in that afterwards, let Tad or myself know and we can send those through to you. But there's lots of fun and exciting things in Zim for kids to do. Not to mention, you know, how much they would love coming in on that little Elephant Express train or being in the underground blind. So you can already see there's ways that kids would just be so immersed in a safari experience down in this side of the park. So just to summarize in terms of included experience in CAMELTHORN BOMANI, obviously drives and walks. Zimbabwe is all about walking. I mean, I have to mention how incredible the guiding is in Zim. It can take 6 to 8 years to qualify. So the quality of your experiences with your guides is going to be, you know, top notch in Zim. And it's something we really encourage guests to do, is get out of the vehicle and enjoy some walks in this part of the park with your pro guides. All of our vehicles are 6-seaters, so everyone gets a window seat. And then there's the great experiences such as the hike, the school tours, the horse riding, the train visits, plus we have our pop-up destination spas. And the only one I haven't mentioned yet is another activity that we offer in the dry season, which is called the pump runs. So Wangi doesn't have any natural water sources. So it's up to the operators in the park to actually pump water for the wildlife in the dry season. And there's 60 water holes in Wangi, and Imvelo has taken it upon ourselves to look after 15 of them. And so guests have the opportunity to do a full day drive into the park and actually see all the water holes that we look after and get involved in as much or as little as they would like to do on that day, to really understand what it takes to conserve the park. So you can get involved in things like dropping off rations for the guys that actually live on the front line and make sure that everything functions in the dry season, dropping off fuel for the diesel engines, servicing the engine. And right now we're in the process of trying to move all of these over to solar hybridization. So you would also, your guests would be able to see that in action. And that's something that, you know, we're going to be continuing on to really try and do next year. it has to be solar hybridization because most of the wildlife drink at night, and the solar just wouldn't be able to sustain that. So you have to move back over to your diesel engines at night. But we call those diesel engines the heartbeat of Wangi. So it's something that's critical to keeping that park alive, and it's part of our history and our story. And guests would be able to enjoy a lunch down at the bottom of the park and then make their way back in the early evenings as all the wildlife's coming jostling down for water. It's a great, fun, full day in the park. So as I mentioned, BOMANI racks for $440 and CAMELTHORN racks next year for $610 per person per night. And again, they all have the stay 3, pay 2 overlays for 6 months of the year, and all of these are combinable. So you can end up with some fantastic stay 9, pay 6s, day 12, pay 8s by including a couple of these different products in your circuits. So now moving on into the northern part of the park. So we've done BOMANI and CAMELTHORN down in the south. As I mentioned, the north is very, very different. And we're launching a brand new special for the high season next year. So from 1 May to 31st of October, if your guests stay 3 nights at Imvelo Lodge, they will be able to receive a free return road transfer from Imvelo Gate or from Wangi Main Camp. So where the arrow is right now is Wangi Main Camp, and that would be a 2.5-hour drive through the park to Imvelo. Or at the top is Imvelo Gate, and you would do another 2.5 to 3 hours down to Imvelo Lodge. So that's the road transfer routes, and that will be now free of cost if your guests stay 3 or more nights at Imvelo in the dry season. So a nice little value add in terms of that. Highly recommend doing the north with the south in the dry season. So you could take the Elephant Express up from BOMANI all the way up to Det, and then you'd road transfer, which again would be an activity through the park to Imvelo. So if you did that circuit, you're looking at your 2.5 hours on your Elephant Express, and then another 2.5 to 3 hours through the park. So it is a full day transfer. However, of course, there's now also this intra-camp Wangi flights. So you could charter from BOMANI or CAMELTHORN straight into Giraffe Springs, which is our airstrip at Imvelo, and that would be a 150 seat rate, and you're looking at about a 40-minute flight. So that's another good way to reach the north. This is really all about the elephants, though. So Imvelo and Zambezi are 2 of the waterholes that most of our elephants will reach on their migratory routes in the dry season. So you get this crush of elephants coming in the dry season. And this camp is set in this half moon shape around a beautiful big waterhole, canvas under thatch. There's only 9 tents, so it's again a very intimate small camp. And that's something I do just want to note is that, you know, all of our accommodation styles are very, very different. And that is something that we've really striven for, is that, you know, to make a difference, that nothing cookie cutter about our products. So staying here, I honestly always say you can literally have an armchair safari because you have so much great wildlife coming right to the waterholes. Beautiful accommodation styles, very spacious, outdoor showers, indoor bathrooms. There's a variety of different room configurations from family to twin to doubles. But this is going to be your experience, you know, sitting around camp in the evening with over 200 to 400 to 600 elephants, depending on the day. So if you've got any guests that are real elephant lovers, this is definitely the camp to visit in the dry season. The ellies up this side of the park are very habituated, so you get this close-up experience with them, which is honestly, it's very special. And this is your dinner photo. I think this is a great one to show guests, and I think something most guests would love to experience. Not only do the ellies all come right into camp and, you know, round our waterhole and finish our pool in the dry season, but close to camp we have this beautiful area called the Nahemba Seeps. And this is an area where there's minerals just under the surface of the ground. And the ellies know about this and they come and dig for it. Apparently it tastes like chocolate to them. And as you can see, this one has immersed himself in it and you get these white elephants. So great for photographs and just a very fascinating experience to watch for a couple of hours. And always a fantastic sundowner spot too, just watching these ellies dig for the minerals. And there's always incredible sunsets just at the back. This product racks for $595, and we are, again, are not taking a price increase in 2019. So lots of value adds, good price point, plus the special now on the transfers, and just very different experience to the south of the park. So here you'll have your armchair safari, you've got your Nahemba seeps, you've got your ability to see very different wildlife concentrations, and all along this also has the stay 3 pay 2 overlay for 6 months of the year. So great one to do, and definitely in the dry season. I would say Nahemba is a good one to include in your itineraries. And then our final camp in Wangi is Josebenini, down in the far, far southwest of the park. This is by far probably the most remote camp in Southern Africa. And this is the camp you come to really disconnect. It's completely off the beaten track. I think it's for safari purists, and it's the luxury of exclusivity. So there's different ways to reach it. You just go back to the map for a second. I just want to talk about how you would get there. So you can either air charter straight in to Josie Camp. We've got an airstrip down there called Labuti, and as you saw, that would be a 250 seat rate from Vic Falls. Or you could do a full day game drive from BOMANI, CAMELTHORN area, which you'd use that pump run that I mentioned, and you'd be able to see about 8 of our water holes, and then you'd make your way down to Josie. So you're looking at a good 5-6 hours through the park with a lovely lunch included in that day. Or again, you can do a full day drive from Nahemba, which is also a 5-6 hour drive. So depending on which camp you come from. What you can't do is do a full drive from Victoria Falls down to Josie in one day. I wouldn't recommend that for your guests in terms of an experience. So a couple of days spent first at Nahemba or BOMANI or another camp in Wangi, and then down to Josie, or making use of these charters. So we've got a brand new special that we also are offering at Josebenini for next year in the high season, so 1 May to 31st of October. If you spend 3 nights at Josie, you will get a free one-way charter either from Giraffe Springs at Nahemba or from BOMANI or CAMELTHORN. So that's a great little one. So you can charter in or out free of cost. And I think it just it's going to open up accessibility for this area. It's a beautiful part of the park to go down and very exclusive. We only have 5 tents down there. So if we move on to the experience there, this, as I said, it's a more rustic camp. It's wild, it's remote, it's exclusive. It has basic accommodation style, but it's the experiences that you really come here for. It's that star beds. All of our beds are on rollers. You can roll them out, sleep under the stars, as you saw in that picture. It's outdoor dining. It's these big dome tents. They're actually quite misleading. They're really big inside, but very basic. Hot outdoor showers as well. But one of the very cool experiential activities that you can do down here is mountain biking. So this part of the park, the terrain lends itself to it, and we have managed to secure permits for it. And I think for me, this picture summarizes Josebenini in one picture, because you're on the mountain bike, you've got this beautiful elephant experience, and we also have one of these fantastic underground blinds, like I mentioned, up at BOMANI and CAMELTHORN, down in this part of the park too. So it also has a flush loo. And between Nahemba and Josebenini, I would say in the dry season, this is the greatest elephant show on the planet. So trying to make use of those new transfer specials, and I think including Nahemba and Josie in dry season itineraries, would just knock it out the park in terms of great elephant experiences and a variety of different other wildlife too. So for the more active safari goers, you can jump on some bikes and do 10-15 kilometer rides and stop and have a siesta and a brunch, and then make your way back and then enjoy a couple of good hours in the underground blind here too. Lots of happy faces. So the experiences at Josie is not only, again, beautiful drives and walks and this look-up viewing height that we've got, mountain biking, but it's a lot of bush dining. It's that starbed experience. And if you do the long road drive down from BOMANI, one of the interesting areas that you will stop at is Makona, and we have just started up a new anti-poaching unit there called the Cobras, and you'd have the opportunity to visit them, and your guests can visit them and interact with them too, which I think really enhances the whole experience. You know, Joseph Bonini, the story behind it is very, very special. The reason why we went into that area of the park is we lost 130 ellies to cyanide poisoning in 2013. And my boss is the elephant man. And when we spoke to national parks and engaged with them about what can we do and what the solutions are, he said, you know, it has to be about presence. And so this is why we've opened up this little camp down there, and it's very close to our hearts. And I think it's done wonders in terms of reducing poaching in that part of the park, because a very good saying once told to me is, you know, poachers are like cockroaches. So the minute you turn on the lights, they scatter. And so our presence down there is really making a difference. And the anti-poaching unit guys are getting down there again. And we've actually hired 2 of the ex-poachers that now work for us. So it makes for some great campfire stories. And this product racks for $3.80 per person per night. So fantastic value for money, also with that stay 3, pay 2 overlay. And now with these great new high season specials that's also running, I think it's one to really think about in terms of guests that are looking for something completely off the beaten track. And then finally, just to launch and talk about our new overnight sleeper train from Victoria Falls to Wangi. So after our success of building our little Elephant Express and just seeing how much love there was for that product, we wanted to take it a step further. And so we've been engaging with the National Railways of Zimbabwe, and we have now managed to secure 3 premier of their coaches. We've refurbed them. 2 of them are sleeper coaches and 1 is a dining cart. And it only takes 24 passengers, so also a very intimate, exclusive experience. It's not 5-star Rovas, it's more 3.5, 4-star adventure brand, very much about how Imvelo does things experiential. But you jump on at 6 p.m. in Vic Falls Station, and you have cocktails and canapes. There's a guide on board that does a great talk on the history of the railways. You have a 3-course dinner on board. There's an open bar all night, couple of hours of sleep, and then it pulls into Deck Railway Station at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then we uncouple from the main train and we sleep there for the rest of the night. There's 2 guards that's always on board, and then 7 a.m. you're up having a cooked breakfast, and then 8 a.m. you are disembarking and catching your connecting transfers into Wangi National Park. So for example, if you were coming down to BOMANI or CAMELTHORN, you would then jump on the Elephant Express, because we'll have an early morning run down to BOMANI and CAMELTHORN, or if you were going through to Nahemba, there'll be a road transfer waiting there to pick you up. And this racks for $440 per person per night in 2019, all inclusive. And we have 9 set departures from May to November, so running in the high season. But if anyone has a group of 12 or more, we can put on any date in the year. So it's actually quite a fun one for groups that are looking for something different, experiential and exclusive. So as Sue Watt from the Times of London said, you know, it's not Rovos Rail, but what it lacks in opulence, it really makes up in charm and character. And that's what the Stamela Star is all about. And so just to finally end off in terms of, you know, in the beginning, I mentioned about our experiential model. And I hope I've managed to bring that to life to you today, to show you how no 2 days is the same with us, you know, whether you are on the trains or the bikes or walking or horses or community work or just having an armchair safari in Nahemba. But the second part is about how much we've been able to do an impact in our communities. And it's thank you to everyone who has supported us so far and sent us guests, because it's only through the donors and the philanthropy work that we've been able to actually do this much. And we're still a baby brand, but we've been able to put $3.5 million back into social services. And the main areas that we really focus on is education, health, and water. One of my favorite projects that we do is our Smile and See Safari. So this happens annually. Was really born out of some great Italian guests that came and visited us and said, you know, they wanted to do a bit more, what could they do? And so we said, come and help us do some free dentistry in the communities. And it's just exploded from there. It's 7 years now on, and they've done over 15,000 patients. And this is one success story that we've really got tangible results, because in the beginning when they were coming, they were doing over 4 procedures per person, and that's now down to 1.2 procedures. So they're now seeing great, you know, first world dentists every year, and it's now, you know, it's gone from saving lives to a maintenance program. So that's a fantastic one that runs every November, December, and it's also gone into optometry now. So that's a new branch that is coming in. School feeding is very close to my heart and one of our biggest projects that we involve ourselves in, and we've done over 400,000 meals, school meals. And I always say to guests, you know, if they've got $100, let's put it towards food, because, you know, for 33 cents, you can provide a meal for a school kid. And it just has such an incredible domino effect, because a lot of children, this is their only meal that they have in a day. And so it encourages kids to come to school and encourages the country to continue to be educated. And I think it's a very important project that we're involved in, and something that our donors love to do with us. And water, safe potable water is the other very big area that we're involved in, and not only with the community, but also within the park. So we've drilled over 80 boreholes in the communities that we look after. And as I mentioned, you know, we look after 15 water holes in the park for our wildlife, which looks after about 25% of our wildlife and thousands of our communities that live right on the front line of that park. And then education is just, you know, a very big one. We've built over 10 classroom blocks, 13 teachers' cottages through fantastic philanthropy work. And this is actually a classroom that some of our guests got involved in and painted, and just wanted to turn into a beautiful environment for kids to want to come to school. And it's something that we can put together for guests that visit us. And it's just uplifted that whole community. So that's another big area that we are involved in. And so just finally to end off, I think, you know, what we're all about is we have this fantastic wildlife. I mean, Wangi National Park is the 3rd largest park in Africa, 45,000 elephants. And last year we had 43,000 visitors. You know, it just goes to show the ratio and the exclusivity that you have when you when you visit this park. But we need to continue to send guests to experience it, and while that's happening, we need to make sure that our local people benefit from this, and that's something that we are trying to plow more into through the areas that I've just mentioned, because if the locals see the benefit to it, they'll continue to protect that wildlife, and there'll be more for our guests to continue to see and their children in the future to come. And that's very much, you know, what Imvelo is about, and that's our ethos, and that's our mission. And I just want to say a very big thank you to everyone who has supported us so far. This is a fantastic time to come and visit Zimbabwe. There's a new mood, there's a new atmosphere. We've been through a lot, but against all adversity, we continue to, you know, achieve some great things. But it's because we have great ambassadors, you know, that really do support us from all over the world. And so from me and from the rest of my Imvelo team, thank you so much for signing in today. And if there's any questions, we can definitely look at that now and see if anyone wants to know a little bit more.
Thank you, Haley. That was fantastic virtual tour around the Imvelo portfolio and around Victoria Falls and Wangi. I do have some questions here from our attendees. The first one is around green season. So can you just give us the green season dates where that stay 3 pay 2 specials are available at all the different camps?
Sure. So the green season is January through to the end of April, and then November and December. So 6 months of the year. And
follow up on that is which camps are, I know there's some camp closures of some of the properties, which we can always send out specifically, but I believe GORGES and CAMELTHORN are the 2 properties that are open year round if you do have guests who want to travel in December, January, February time period where some of the other properties are closed.
Correct. A really good routing for the green season is GORGES Lodge and then come down to CAMELTHORN. I do 4 nights down at CAMELTHORN in the green season, just because on those Ngamo plains, the visibility is so amazing all year round, and there's so much to do and immerse yourself there that 4 nights is, you know, it's sometimes not even enough. And Zambezi Sands, we just closed for a little while, but that's just really for repairs and maintenance. And then the camp is back open again. So I would always try and finish up again on the Zambezi River, because during the green season, it's flowing at its fullest and it's really beautiful and lush.
Great. And then a question on the minimum age for walking safaris. And you had mentioned 7 is the minimum age for the camps, but is there an age requirement for being able to go out and walk in Wangi or in Zambezi National Park?
In Zimbabwe, there is no legal age, but because we take kids, we don't take 7 and under, so 7 with the Imvelo camps is the minimum age for walking.
Obviously, for walking with kids, we're not, our professional guides wouldn't take small children into an elephant herd like they might do with adults, or go tracking lions, make it more of a bush dawdle and a bush walk. That photo of all the kids holding that giraffe skeleton, I think, is a great example of kids walking in the park there. They get to go explore the bones of a giraffe and look after some of the small things, the famous poop tour of an African safari for kids, looking at all the different types of droppings as well.
Go and find the small 5.
And the small 5. Can you give us a recommendation for how best to incorporate the Elephant Express and the flights? So obviously now there's a lot more flight options or cheaper flight options to connect BOMANI and CAMELTHORN and Nahimba and Josie, but also trying to incorporate the Elephant Express, which is such a great, unique experience. The question is, how would you recommend agents put together that combination between flights and the LA Express?
There's so many different routing types that we can do. It really depends on how many camps your guests would like to include, their budget and their time. So I'm not sure who that question's from, but might be worth me having a call afterwards and just chatting that through, but it's on a case by case, we can look at it. But I would always say, try and use the Elephant Express on your way down to BOMANI and CAMELTHORN, ideally, because it is the afternoon run, and so it tends to have better game viewing in the afternoon. So I would start down there, and then say, for example, your guests have a little bit of extra time and they want to get down to Josie. I would then do a road transfer from BOMANI or CAMELTHORN down to Josie so they can experience that pump run in the full day. And then from there, I would charter up to Nahimba. And so you cut out that 5-6 hours. And then from there, I would do the free now road transfer back up to Victoria Falls, because driving through that northern part of the park is also spectacular. And that's also where you get those opportunities to see these, 1,000-strong herds of ellies and of buffalo. So I would use that inter-camp flight in terms of moving between Joseph Benini and Nahimba specifically. And then again, if time is a little bit of an issue, then maybe from Giraffe Springs back up to Victoria Falls, so from Nahimba back up again.
Yeah, I highly recommend guests or agents encourage their guests or plan in for their guest a trip, at least one trip on the Elephant Express. And I think your recommendation to do it on that trip down to BOMANI and CAMELTHORN is right on. As you mentioned, the game is generally a little bit better in the afternoon, but it is such a unique, one of its kind experience in Africa. There's no other place you can do this, a game viewing train like this along a national park. So it's a must-do for anybody that has that's headed down to the southern part of Wangi. Question about game viewing in the green season. This question specifically regarding Nahimba and Josie Benini, say like in the March time period, but maybe also compare and contrast Nahimba and Josie to the southern part of the park as well, down at BOMANI and CAMELTHORN.
Thank you for that comment on loving the Elephant Express, Steph. Just seen that. Yeah, so I would definitely say Nahimba and Josie are your dry season camps. So between May and October, that's when you want to really include them in your itineraries for the best guest experiences. So if it's green season, I would stick to the southern part of the park because of those Ngamo plains and the great visibility. But definitely one to remember is Wangi is an all year round park because the grass doesn't grow very high at all. And the green season is such a fantastic time to come because it's baby season. With the babies come the predators, 400 birding species in Wangi. It's just lush and beautiful for photography. Your elephant are in fantastic condition as well. So I would say green season, you know, focus on the southern part of the park, and then dry season is when you can start to really move your guests around the park and experience your Nahemba and Joseph Benini, which is where you're going to have that greatest elephant show on the planet by far.
And that's a follow-up question to the green season, but regarding Nahemba and Josie, the question is about getting that elephant, dinner time elephant photo like we saw in the presentation. What are the months that you'll have that opportunity to have all those Ellies behind at your dinner table?
You will have the Ellies there from April through to November. What's just going to differ is the volume. So in April, you might have 5 or 6 Ellies there, but you can still get a great photo and still have this very close-up experience. Whereas in late October, when it's at its driest, that's when you're going to have your crush of elephant, and you're going to have, you know, 400 or 500 elephant. We have a game count in Wangi National Park that happens every September, and within a 24-hour period, you have to count how many game and what come down to a waterhole. And the Nahemba waterhole have between 800 and 1,200 elephant within a 24-hour period, literally every year in that game count, and that's in September. So it really depends on what your guests are looking for, their budget, their timing, how okay they are. Like, it's a very wild experience to sleep with, you know, 400 or 500 elephant literally surrounding your tent. So you also just need to take into so many, you know, factors into consideration of what type of experiences your guests are looking for. But that crush of elephant from, you know, August, September, and October are going to be your 3 best months for that.
Great. Question here. We just got about 2 more questions and then we'll wrap it up. So thanks for everybody for sticking around and for your patience with our technical issues at the beginning. But Samela Star, can you book this Samela Star if you're not staying at one of the Imvelo properties in Wangi?
Yes, you can. So we have agreements with all the operators that they will come and fetch from Det railway station. So yes, 100%.
And that would be 8 a.m. pickup from Det off to whichever camp you're staying at in Wangi.
Correct.
Unless, of course, as we'd recommend, if you're staying at CAMELTHORN or BOMANI, then you just hop on the Elephant Express and continue your rail journey all the way down to camp in the far south. All right, that is, oh, actually one last one, transfer day, describing the day between CAMELTHORN and BOMANI, transferring from CAMELTHORN and BOMANI up to Nahemba. You mentioned it's a 5-hour day. If you're doing the Elephant Express, that's 2.5 hours, and then you have a game drive up to Nahemba. Just describe that. It's really more of an activity versus a transfer, because you're game viewing the whole way in different modes.
That's correct. Yeah, 100%. You know, it's a long day, but it's experiential, and there's a lot to see along the way. So, you know, we've never found guests to say that, you know, it was an unpleasant day or something that they would want to change. But you know, now with the flights, that's just another great option to throw in there. You know, if guests are wanting to move a bit quicker through the park, then that's definitely an option, just to quick, you know, 30-minute charter up to Nahemba.
Okay, that's all the questions. Haley, I'll just let you wrap it up here. And again, thanks for everyone for giving us so much of your time and for your patience at the beginning. And thank you, Haley.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you to everyone that has signed in, that has just such a love for Zimbabwe and has supported us and, you know, continue to support us going forward. We're always available if you need to get hold of me. I'm on Haley@ImveloSafariLodges.com. And I hope to see you all around the campfire for gin and tonic soon. Thank you for signing in today.